Today we're going to replace the positive crankcase ventilation valve, also known as a PCV valve, which is located back here. It's this one right here. And then we're going to replace the spark plug. This is a 3.3 liter variable valve timing fuel injected V6 by Toyota. It's also known as the 3MZ-FE engine. The manufacturer calls out for iridium spark plugs, which you can either get these ones here, the Denso SK20R11, which this is a subsidiary of Toyota, or you can get the NGK IFR6A11. It's a different company altogether. These both are iridium spark plugs, and the gap on these spark plugs is 0.043 thousandths. The spark plugs, the ones I'm going to be using today, are the Bosch. They're double iridium. They last a little longer. And these spark plugs come pre-gapped. You can check the gap. You do not adjust the gap, lest you should remove the iridium coating on the two electrodes of the spark plugs. So you can check it, but you cannot adjust the gap on these spark plugs that Toyota calls for. If you do not meet the gap, you just replace the spark plug, you just bring it back to your auto parts store, tell them, hey, look, this is not the gap that it's supposed to be. And you explain to them, look, the Toyota calls for a pre-adjusted gap, and this gap is not there. Just try not to shove a feeler gauge in there so hard that it removes the iridium precious metal coating from the electrodes of the spark plugs. That being said, guys, let's get started. We're going to remove this cover right here through these three bolts right here, which is a 5mm Allen key. And then we'll move on to the next thing. We should not have to remove the intake manifold. We should be able to access the rear spark plugs from a gap under here. So let's get started. Let's remove this lid and we'll continue with the quest. Okay, we took the engine cover off. Usually I'm one to start with the harder items first and move on to the easier ones, but this time I decided to start with the easier one first. So you take the engine cover off right there, which exposes your three coils, 1, 2, and 3, and your 3 connectors. Now, unfortunately, this connector right here, as you can tell, the clip broke because these plugs over time become brittle, so I'm gonna have to address that at some point. Probably not this time, because I do need to get this job done hopefully tonight, and then we'll address the ones in the back. And supposedly I saw this video of this kid that was able to access through here, so we'll attempt that and see how that works out. So the plugs that were in before are these ones here. These are the Denso ones, and like I said, let me see if you can see the part number on it. No, you can't zoom in. No, can't do it. Anyway, these are the Denso iridium ones, SK20R11, and again, you don't adjust the gap. You just check and make sure that it's there, and then you just replace them. So I'm going to go ahead and put the 3 new spark plugs in. I'm going to put the coils back in, and then we'll move on to the back ones. The torque on these, it's anywhere between 19 and 21 foot-pounds for the torque on these spark plugs. Let's get it done. The front spark plugs are in. You're able to see them in there. Here they are, 1, 2, and 3. And a little side note before I move on. Because we mentioned that these spark plugs are pre-gapped, get yourself a spark plug socket. In this particular case, for this application, it's a 5/8. It's a 5/8 socket. Some of them come with a rubber grommet, some of them come with a magnet. This one from Duralast has a magnet in it, and when you go in to install the spark plug, make sure you go in gently, and you start threading by hand first, lest you should bend one of the electrode of the spark plug on the way down, and it changed the gap on a spark plug. So you guys, be gentle. It was worth mentioning. I figure I'll stop and let you know. Okay, I'm going to put the coils back on, bolt them down with the 10mm, and put the connectors back on. So I did try to do it according to how this young man has suggested, to stick my arm in here, but it didn't occur to me until later on after watching a video again that the kid must have been at a very young age with a very skinny arm. And I'm not big, but I don't have a small arm either. And unfortunately, I cannot stick my arm back there. I only managed to do the first cylinder 1 spark plug. And what I did find out that you don't even have to disconnect the connector from the coil to get to the spark plug. I did replace the positive crankcase. You can see it. It's got a new. I did replace the positive crankcase ventilation valve, also known as the PCV valve. And all I did is the 3 spark plugs in the front. Unfortunately, the sun is going down. It's getting a little overcast, and it's becoming a little harder to finish this job. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I was unprepared for this. I was unprepared at the degree of difficulty that this was gonna take to get this job done, and I'm sorry for that. So I did watch a couple other videos. The manual is not very specific as to what to do, nor is the internet, other than some YouTube videos. A guy said to remove the whole intake manifold. That will be my last resort. There was another guy that removed the intake filtration box and a throttle body, so I might do that to get to the last 2 spark plugs, unfortunately. Back to this one on the Frontier, as you can see, I mitigated the issue of a broken lock tab by using a safety wire. I'm in the aviation business, so I have access to this sort of equipment. And this this plug is not going anywhere. The coil will work just fine. Otherwise, I would have to replace this connector. But for the time being, it will work. If I had to drive 6,000 miles, I wouldn't hesitate to do it with this safety wire on it. So yeah, I'm gonna. These are the only 3 that I was able to do: safety wire, PCV valve, and the number 1 cylinder. I'm gonna put the cover back on, guys, and we will continue this. I'm gonna have to run to work, not run, but drive to work and get my other tools, a little more advanced tooling to get that throttle body and filtration box off, and hopefully I'll have enough space to get to the last 2 spark plugs back there. Damn it, I'm really disappointed in how difficult this is turning out to be. All right, guys, I'm gonna put this cover back, and we'll have to continue this another time, hopefully not too far from now. All right, guys, we're at it again the next day. This time we're gonna approach it from the throttle body filter box direction, see if we can get those 2 plugs. Otherwise, it's looking like I may have to take that intake plenum, which is probably why Toyota said what they said. If you want to get the back spark plugs done, you got to remove that intake plenum. I mean, I get it. If you're 19, 20 years old and you have really skinny arms and you can stick your arms back there, great. But if you can't, then you're just going to have to go the manufacturer way. I already took the cover off, and we're going to go ahead and address removing this. There's going to be some lines I'm going to mark and all that, just to take all this off. Make sure that we don't miss anything and everything goes back where it's supposed to. So I'll keep you guys posted as I am doing this, but let's get started. First thing we did, we disconnected and removed the air box, the air filtration box, or the airflow with the airflow sensor. It was disconnected here. A couple of vacuum hoses here. There's another vacuum hose right here. 2 bolts right here. This is what it looks like. Nothing fancy. Here it is. I don't know if you guys can see it. 1 bolt here, 1 bolt here. We disconnected this hose here. Loosen up this clamp here to the throttle body. Is also 10 millimeter, and dislodge the hose that was crossing across here. That was easy. We also took the upper stabilizer bar, and that's the air filter right there. We are next going to remove these 1, 2, and 2, 4 here, 10 millimeter screws. And there is a coolant running through the throttle body. So what we're gonna do, we're not gonna disconnect the coolant hoses. We're just gonna disconnect the throttle body from the intake plenum, and we're gonna move that aside. There's also, I don't know if you could tell, There's gonna be some bolts that will need to be removed. Here, let me grab a mirror. I got a mirror. Give me 1 second, guys. Hang in there. I know you're probably getting dizzy. You'll see it back here. See that bracket right there? That bolt is gonna have to come out. And that bolt right there is gonna have to come out as well. And there's another one on the other side back here. Let's see if I can get to it. I don't know if you can see it. Can you see it? There's another bolt right there that will have to come out for this intake plenum to be removed, but we're not getting there. We're not there just yet. Next, we're gonna dislodge the throttle body, and then we'll remove this assembly here. Let's do it. There we go, guys. We did it. Took about an hour or so, but it was definitely doable. It wasn't hard work, but it was difficult to take off, if it makes any sense. Did I feel like getting pissed off? Yeah, of course. But that's the thing about these difficult jobs, or these hard jobs, is that it teaches you self-control, it teaches you patience, it teaches you determination, it teaches you resolve. You can do this. If I can do this, you could definitely do this, because I've never done this job before. Now, mind you though, I am a mechanic by trade, but I don't work on cars except my own cars. I work on airplanes now, but it's the same thing. As long as you have the procedures and the policies. In the case, not a whole lot of procedures were available for the access here to get to the spark plugs. But you do have the maintenance manual, which I've shown you guys before. And in the back of the maintenance manual, not in the back, I'm sorry. In the front of the maintenance manual, you do have the standard torques that tell you what the torque spec of everything is. So we could figure that part out, as long as you could fit. There it is, guys. M6, M8, M10s, all your torques and all your specs and all your bolts. So now I gotta go to I'm just gonna replace these last two spark plugs back here that I couldn't get to yesterday. Now that we're this far, this is the easy part, and we'll put it all back together. We're gonna put some paper towels in here, clean the contact surfaces for the intake plenum. Go get some new O-rings and gaskets. I always recommend, as always, to install new O-rings and new gaskets. This one is the one for the throttle body that goes in the back of the throttle body, and the one for the intake plenum, which is under the intake plenum right here, guys. Just replace this orange one right here. Replace those two, and then we'll put it all back together. Like I said, guys, now I'm not a 19, 20-year-old kid with skinny arms that could have fitted the arm like one of the guys on YouTube did and go as far under here. And another guy that, which English I couldn't understand, I don't think he was speaking English, did it with, by just removing the throttle body and this other component of the, right here, of the intake plenum. Well, guys, if you're gonna go that far, I mean, might as well do it right as per the manufacturer. These were the hard ones right here. You have a 14mm bolt here, a 12mm bolt here, and a 12mm. These and a 12mm bolt. These were the hard ones. The rest was easy. But like I said earlier, with a little determinations, with a little bit of resolve and self-control, and look, anything is possible, guys. If I can do this, so can you. Like I said, I'm gonna replace those two back spark plugs right now. Clean up this area a little bit, put some towels in there while I go pick up the gaskets, and we'll put this thing back together. We replaced the gasket on the intake plenum, and part number 4 there is MS96 586 from Velcro. We swapped it. That's the old one right there, and we also picked up the throttle body gasket mash. This one here, I got a new one. and it's also from Velcro, part number 61276. Don't be deceived by the 3.0 liter dual overhead cam engine, Camry, yada yada. It fits on a 3.3 liter as well. So now we're gonna put the intake plenum back on top of here. We'll remove those paper towels, and the bolts for the intake plenum, they're also in the engine section of this maintenance manual right here. Intake plenum bolts and nuts, it's 32 foot-pounds, whereas the intake plenum brace bolts, meaning these ones here, 1, 2, and 3, that's at 168 inch-pounds. All right, let's install it. Okay, the intake plenum is installed. You have your 14-inch nuts right here, and your size 8 Allen bolts right here. That's all at 30, what did we say? It was 32 foot-pounds. Make sure you don't forget the positive crankcase ventilation valve line hooked up back there, or the car's gonna run a little funny when it starts right up. You have 168 inch-pounds for those 3 bolts back here that we talked about earlier. So that's all snug. The hard part is done, guys. Now, from now on, it's all downhill, all easy stuff. Now we're gonna put down this assembly of wires and the vacuum lines and the throttle body. That all goes in on 80, right here, 80 inch-pounds for this, and the bolts that go under, and 80 inch-pounds on this assembly as well. And we'll start connecting some vacuum lines. Don't forget the new throttle body gasket. Let's do it. This assembly is installed with the 2 10mm nuts at 80 inch-pounds. We're now going to install the throttle body. You'll notice I already put the gasket in. Make sure that the mash is facing inwards, or the throttle on the throttle body will interfere with that mash. Let's continue. The throttle body is in. Most of the vacuum lines are hooked up. Hopefully you took plenty of pictures so that you know what goes where. This is also a good time to replace any of the vacuum lines if needed be. Like, for example, I replaced this one here, I replaced this one here, I replaced this one here as well, a number, as among other things. Air filter, we're now going to put the airflow sensor slash filtration box back on. Finish to connect all the vacuum lines. Don't forget to connect the connector for the airflow sensor, otherwise you're going to get a check engine light. And then we'll start up and run and make sure everything is hunky-dory. Here we go, guys and gals. Moment of truth. It's all back together. Just stay once over, make sure everything is connected. Like I said earlier, this is a good opportunity to change some of these vacuum lines that come loose all the time. This is all connected. Airflow sensor is connected. Rerouted the wires inside of these clamps where it belongs. Vacuum line, everything is connected there, everything is connected there. Everything is connected, guys. I like it. It turned out good. Well, moment of truth. We'll start it up and see how she runs. She sounds good. She sounds like she's supposed to. I like it. All right, guys, this is it. Hopefully this video was of help to you guys. As always, like I said earlier, I know it could be a tough job because, oh my God, I gotta take the intake manifold off. Oh my God, don't panic. It's okay. You'll get through this. If you cannot do this, guys, albeit a difficult job, then how are you gonna face life? If this is how you do anything, that's also how you will do everything. You just dive in, take your time, and do the job right. And if this is the same mentality you'll use for when you approach anything, you'll be successful in life. You'll be successful. Just don't give up. Just don't give up. Don't get overwhelmed or by an intake manifold. So what? You figure it out, make it happen, And then you'll be satisfied with it. You know, you can look back once you're done and you go, oh my God, I did this and it came out really, really good. Such as I'm having that moment right now. All I wanted to do was replace the PCV valve and a bunch of spark plugs, turned into a major job just to do the spark plugs. But you know what, guys? It got done. It got done. So keep that in mind for next time for you guys as well. If this video was of help to you, as always, like and subscribe, and we will see you at the next one. Take care.